So we're going to start with A, and can anybody tell me what A might mean? What that might stand for?
Adjusting?
Not adjusting. It's something very, very specific.
Yeah.
It's air.
Air.
And that's what that's the first thing you want to check. And the league doesn't really include this, but I include it every time I do it. And I include air and bearings in the same thing. So it's kind of a double B on this one. Because while I'm going down here, I'm checking the air to see if it's flat or not. In this case, it's quite flat. And in the back one here, I can check it. But as I'm doing that, in the same motion, I can check my bearings by wiggling it kind of a little bit like that. And that way I know, right here inside is where my bearings are. That way I know before each ride whether or not those are loose. Or it could also tell me if my quick release or my bolts are loose in the same motion. And that can prevent a lot of expensive repairs down the road. At the same time, it could prevent your wheel from flying off that way. Can anybody tell me what B might stand for?
Brakes.
Brakes, absolutely. I want to check both my brakes. So I can roll forward a little bit and I can roll backward a little bit and check those brakes. There are a couple of things you're looking for when you're checking your brakes. The first is that it's making a complete stop before this lever gets to the handlebar here. You should have about a thumb's width right here. You also don't want it too tight. This seems okay for most hand sizes, right about where this is. But if it was too far away, like it stopped after moving just about that much, that's going to put a lot more stress right here in your carpal tunnel. It's not going to feel pleasant after a while. So it has to have good actuation here, not go too far too quickly, and at the same time not barely move at all. So it's good to check both of those things. And you can also take a look down at your brake pads really quickly. Just a quick glance should be able to tell you a lot about it. You should have about 1/8 of an inch of pad left at any given time or more. At the same time, they should be nice and aligned. If you see this looking loose or cockeyed in one way or another, then you can tell that it needs to be adjusted. There's a problem. If it's rubbing on the tire, if it's off the rim, something like that. It should be nice and in line with this rim right here. Can everybody see how these brake pads are a good example of it being nice in line there? Now C is mostly the drivetrain, but it's cranks, your chain, as well as your cogs. And you want to check all that out, give it a good visual test. You can even pedal backwards. If that goes back real smoothly, it's not jamming up, something like that, that probably tells you that it's functioning a little bit normally. But if you try to pedal backwards and you hear this clank, 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 probably something needs to be adjusted or something else might be going wrong. Maybe when it was sitting here, somebody applied the shifters, and you might need to just go forward one to put it into gear in the same way as a clutch on a bicycle. And check that out. Make sure that everything looks okay. You don't have any kinked part of the chain. No, nothing that looks really, really horrible over here. It's usually a common sense sort of thing. You can take a look down and see what might be going wrong. At the same time, on your cranks, just like you were moving the bearings in here, there are also bearings inside here. So you want to move those back and forward, maybe a couple of positions, maybe just one if you're in a hurry, but just moving it in the direction that it's not designed to go to see if there's any play, any movement that doesn't belong inside of there. And I can just move that around and see what's going on. I generally don't want to move it with the pedal alone because sometimes there's a certain amount of movement in the pedal and I can't isolate it. So I could check the cranks and then the pedals, or vice versa, something like that. See what's going on. The D, the drop. And I could just take my bike right up like this and drop it down a little bit. I don't have to be really harsh or really crazy with it, but I just need to check to make sure that there's nothing flying off, that there aren't any strange sounds, something that I might not have picked up on or might not have noticed. And I also want to check the quick release. So ABCD quick check. And that's right down here. You've got those quick releases. And just like Chuck was showing you guys earlier, you want it to be nice and all the way clamped down. You shouldn't be able to take this off with the flick of your pinky. And let me actually put this in the stand really quick so everybody can see. Really what we do is we put it almost flush with the fork itself. Same thing over here, but a little bit offset so that you can actually pull it off.